Nothing tastes better than Pundit Friday, which we're back in the studio with the #1 pundits in the media universe. Pundits like the valorous and validating voice of vivification and vanquishes all vanity and vacillation. The pastor of parking ticket palpitation, the dairy-free goddess of our grassroots operation, the belle of our ball, managing editor of Inner City News, and host of WNHH's Love Talk program, Babs Rolls Ivy.
Hey, y'all.
We also have that illustrious incubator of insight and incision, the flyest news gatherer this side of Fleet Street, boss of the budget beat and the beauty beat, star New Haven independent reporter, Markeisha Riggs.
Happy Friday, people.
We have the bravest man in New Haven, unapologetic Donald Trump fan, WNHH studio manager, Harry Drost.
Hey.
And both Nora Rodriguez-Reyes and our other buddy, Joe Ugly, are not around this week, but they will be back next week, we believe, especially if Joe gets the flight home from Germany. And we miss you guys, and we'll try to make the best without you. How's everybody doing?
Oh, we are good. It's Happy Friday. Happy summer.
Happy Friday. Happy summer. You know, there was something about this past week in New Haven that there were all sorts of different parts of town. There were all sorts of plans on the table for overall good things to change that people hoping will happen, ideas, projects. But in each case, people got together and found reasons not to be happy about the details. And it was the typical New Haven, not necessarily bad, picking at stuff and politics and questions raised. And in some cases, I was at one of these occasions, but most of them, Markeisha Riggs happened to be independents, right? About it from New Haven Independent. And just like last night, Markeisha, you were at Martinez School, right in Fairhaven. And forever, we've been wanting to clean up the mothball power plant on the Ball Island, right off Grand Avenue, Mill River, the nice Lemonade's old building. They were just going to leave it there at PCBs. It used to be called the City 6, one of the City 6 most polluting factory power plants in the state. They weren't going to clean it up until Tony Hart got George Jepsen turned general to force a Spanish energy giant, Iberdrola, that's buying out eliminating, to set aside $30 million to clean it if they wanted approval. That shit comes up. It looks like it's going to happen. And last night, the company came and told people in Fairhaven, hey, we're getting going. We're starting next month. So it's about to start. Markeisha, how'd it go?
It was a fairly tame meeting. People had lots of questions. In particular, one woman there who is a parent as well as a teacher at a nearby Head Start was concerned. She heard, you know, what they had to say about how we're going to contain all the contaminants as we move them back in, like, off the site and clean things onto the site and you know, try to remediate asbestos in those buildings and whatever other crazy hazardous PCB materials that are over there and clean up the soil and the
Did you say
water.
PCP or PCB?
I'm sorry, PCB. I hope I said PCB.
Yeah, it sounded like PCP to me, but I think I'd rather have that
I hope
than
I
the
said
PCBs.
PCB.
Yeah.
But if I did, I meant PCB.
I probably heard it wrong.
But, you know, she was really concerned about what happens if, you know, something gets airborne. If dry, contaminated dirt gets airborne, if that's going to come across the field, because John Martinez School is just across the soccer field.
I've stood in that field and looked at the plant, and it is right there. Sometimes we don't realize if you're driving, you go all the way around. But if you're standing in that field, you're right by the Mill River, and the island's right there. So I think that's not an if. I think that's probably a when, I'm guessing.
They seem, or UI, and I don't know if that's a traditional corporate line, which is they seem very confident about their ability to seal the site, to carry out different materials in sealed containers. Like, they have a whole strategy and plan for doing it, and they've hired a company, an environmental engineering company, to monitor them and check almost every step of the things that they're doing.
So what did the company say? This woman said, what's going to happen if the
Well, what she asked very specifically was, how are you going to notify the community if there's some type of leak, if some of that contamination gets out for whatever reason? And, you know, I think they're thinking more like, oh, there's a spill into the river or things like that. But she was at the very ground level that all of us would be concerned about, which is, what if there's a big dust storm and it just blows dirt from that place?
Or just a cloud.
Or just a cloud or something like that. Yeah. How are they going to notify the community? And, you know, the official had, you know, those official words about, oh, we have to notify the State Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, and we have all these other, but he couldn't confirm whether or not they're going to send these people an email or say, look, hey, stay inside your house, seal your doors, take the stuff up.
Or do they even know someone at Martinez School whom they would call right away to notify the parent to be there?
Well, obviously they met in the school, and I think the city worked to work with the principal, but, like, I don't know that they have a chain of this is how we would do this. So they said they would get back to them on that answer.
So that really shows the importance of public meetings.
Absolutely.
Where the public shows you what they care about, and then you can take care of business you might not taken care of. And you were saying to me last night when we talked about Markeisha, this reminded you of a very similar meeting you were at recently in Cedar Hill, where there was a chemical factory there that had an explosion.
Absolutely.
And didn't let the neighbor know what was going on.
And
so
people
now there's
for
a
hours didn't know, like, am I smelling something or getting, inhaling something that is harmful to me? Like, they just didn't know for hours.
So there was a hearing this week, I guess the Board of Alders, where they're going to have new rules in place for how companies inform neighborhoods around them when there's an environmental problem or an explosion or some kind of threat to public health. So maybe they can include UI in this one. Then you also, someone else I saw in your article I was reading this morning, talked about if pollution gets in the river. So while they said in terms of the airborne threats, they're going to work on that, they said they're not going to work on the river threats.
They're not. The scope of their work is just for the Ball Island site, and it involves the cleaning up of the soil and the water that's contained on site, as well as the buildings on that site. But they don't have any plans to test water or any of that downstream that's affected by what's on that site.
So is anybody else gonna? Department of Energy?
I don't know, and I don't know if it would be up to the State's Department to hold UI accountable to that as well.
And then the other night you were at a city plan meeting and now we finally got our plans after all this time. It's been a long wait to build, I think, is it the state's largest protected cycle track, meaning you have a bike lane that has a barrier so cars can't go in and out of it, all the way coming from Forest Road at the edge of Westville Flats up the hill, all the way downtown to Park Street. And they had to convince a lot of people along the way who worried about parking. They found these creative solutions to have it go up on the sidewalk for a part so people fill up parking spaces by a coffee shop. And they got it approved, but before it was approved, there was one last group you wrote about that still doesn't like it. It kind of tapped into something larger. That's too bad Joe Ivy's not here because they always wants to tax bike riders. It seemed to still tap into something larger about some people in town who have this lingering resentment about bicyclists becoming part of the infrastructure.
Well, it appears, according to the Republican Town Committee Chair, Jonathan Wharton, that Republicans in the neighborhood aren't too keen on the bike lane.
And there are Republicans still in that neighborhood.
There are.
Now, Jonathan himself is on the commission. He voted for it. He rides a bike.
He does. He's a very avid bike rider.
So some people are upset when they comment on the Independent. Why are you going against everything? That's why Republicans get nowhere. How can you be possibly against a bike lane where people can be healthier and ride their bikes places?
I want healthy people. Are you kidding me?
And they said, well, worried about it's going to look ugly with the striping and the
delineator tubes.
The delineator tubes, the rubber ducky thing.
And they're afraid that it's going to take down their property values, even though what Giovanni Zen, our city engineer, said is that by and large, bike lanes and any type of infrastructure improvement for pedestrians actually benefits homeowners.
Because people it's an inducement to want to buy a house with your family as opposed to an absentee landlord if you care less.
Yeah.
And you actually want people who want to live in their houses.
Yeah, who want to live in and use that.
A lot of people say we like to come someplace where we can ride. It's like having parks. But you know what I was thinking? I was reading that. Of course, I'm like our readers who say, come on, it's the new century. People are stuck in the past. How can you be against progress? Historically, the Republican Party in this city as a minority has raised questions about liberals' ideas that we all think sound great. And sometimes they end up being right, even though they're coming from. When you raise questions about school integration, I still believe to this day a lot of that was racist, the opposition. But they still raise questions that end up being true about people that, black parents eventually embrace sometimes about not wanting to have to leave their own neighborhood or feeling like the solution to educating my kid better is to have a white kid next to a black kid rather than just having better schools for everybody. They raised questions about urban renewal, and again, some of that wasn't motivated by good reasons in the 50s and 60s in New Haven, but there's no question they were overall right about the unintended consequences of tearing down so much housing and the inside deals for the business people who benefited from it, the property owners, and how we just got poorer, and we look back at it and said the government took action thinking it was going to help everybody, and it ended up. So while I still believe this bike lane is a great thing, I can't wait till it's built. Maybe it'll even get me back on a bike again rather than walking everywhere. I think we should listen.
Oh, you'll have good walking though experience because they're going to fix that intersection of Winthrop and Edgewood.
I think about that every day when I cross it.
Yeah, because I'm always fearful of my life when I'm crossing
Winthrop
the street there
and
on a bike
Edgewood.
or because in fact I saw today as I was coming here on the Q bus, a car that had been at the stop sign assumed that the bus was going to stop while they had been sitting at that stop sign. So the bus is actively approaching them. They pull out in front of the bus, and the bus almost hits them.
Well, Harry and Babs, when you hear about Republicans saying these bicyclists, it's not your cities, cars supposed to ride, it's gonna make it a worse place to live, our property values will go down, it's gonna be ugly. What do you think when you hear that? Come on, Harry Jones.
Resident conservative.
Let's get that Donald Trump feeling. Well, Donald Trump probably likes bike lanes. He probably is into this whole building up urban features. He was kind of into that in New York, right?
I'm sure.
Well, I'm sure he would like to make money building anything, right?
No, not just make money. I thought he's like a city guy.
But he's a city guy. But as long as he could build, he's happy, right?
Yeah. But I mean, we'll make his property value better.
But here's the thing about that for me. I just think to myself, and I'm gonna take on Joe's topic here about taxing bike riders. They're spending so much money accommodating bike riders. So bike riders should actually pay some type of tax.
But they do pay taxes.
No. Doesn't everybody pay taxes, Paul? Yes. But you want some people, on some occasions, to pay more taxes for the issues that you want. Well, bike riders should have to pay a little more.
But it's also for pedestrians. This
to inconvenience all pedestrians.
Right, and this is to benefit pedestrians.
No, we're all pedestrians, but it's not benefiting all pedestrians. We don't all go bike riding.
No, it's a pedestrian and bike trail.
I know, Paul, but all pedestrians will not be on that bike trail.
Not all pedestrians.
Well, not all car riders go on a certain road we build, Harry. That's why we have taxes that benefit everybody.
Let me tell you.
Good.
Well, let me throw this in here because, two other kind of lost points that are lost on people who drive cars is that if you live in those neighborhoods, even if you own a car and have a driveway and all of those things, your neighborhood experiences not so much the pressures of your driving and your neighbor's driving, but because of where Westville is, how close it is to Woodbridge, what we're getting is all those suburbanites coming in through our neighborhood to avoid Whaley Avenue.
And there were different hearings about this bike trail. So one was in Westville, where people tend to be more middle class, right? And they have a lot of people love biking, but then people have businesses and feel like they park everywhere. But in Edgewood and Dwight actually to school, where they're lower income, they said exactly what Marquisha said. They said, we've been asking the city for relief from all these speeding drivers that are going to run over our kids when we walk to school. So they are not bike riders, Harry. But they're going to benefit from this. They see this as traffic calming. So you're saying
that building a bike lane is going to stop somebody from speeding?
Oh, there's no question. It's going to be a narrow road.
They're taking that road down to
that was not an
argument. Car traffic and one lane for
believe me, it doesn't matter for somebody who's speeding.
Absolutely, but at some point you're gonna get stuck behind a bus.
It doesn't matter.
You're not gonna have a choice.
A wide 2-lane street versus a very narrow one.
You think they're speeding because it's wide?
There's no question that studies have shown that. Shown that psychologically, if something's wide open, you go.
I go up Edgewood and Dwight every morning, right? We come up 313 and then we end up on Edgewood.
So this is your route?
This is my route. Okay, and I see people flying by those schools. It's like
that's the point.
And it has nothing to do with it being wide or anything. They could be right next to you, tight.
But the conventional wisdom, at least the conventional wisdom, Harry, people study stuff. Now sometimes experts are wrong.
Yeah,
is that when it's a narrower road, it goes more
and slowly. Not just narrow, like more things in the roadway. Yeah. So you have a whole bike lane that's going to be on that north side of Edgewood. You're basically going to be down to one lane.
And I'm not sure you're down to one lane, Marquisha. Are you? Maybe you are, because they're worried about, like, for instance, trucks going to have to double park and load stuff. So actually, one of our commenters, noteworthy, who lives in Upper Westville, he says this stinks because you have to think of the rights of people who want to drive more quickly to get where they're going. And this is going to frustrate people. David Hartman talked about that with traffic calming, that sometimes the traffic calmers don't realize that frustrating drivers makes it worse. That you want to have the smoothest ride. You don't want them speeding, but you want to have, like the way bikes are badly timed on Whaley, it just frustrates you, and then you've got it up and you're frustrated. You're going to go through the light. And that's why I'm saying we do always have to listen to unintended consequences.
The reason I'm taking Edgewood every morning is so I don't have to deal with the lights on Whaley.
So this is designed actually to push you back to Whaley Avenue. If you want to drive that way, you have to go back to Whaley Avenue, which is what the neighborhoods want.
It makes no sense.
They don't want
it does make sense. You still have an alternative route. You don't have to drive on Edgewood. And people would actually prefer
Can I get a witness here about how you're going to educate this one?
I mean, I think we should be bike friendly. I mean, the city is friendly. We should be bike friendly.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we be bike friendly? Why can't bikes and cars coexist? They can't.
And they should
It's
pay
just about political will. No, I don't. Come on, really.
Yeah.
Harry loves the tax stuff. That's what these Republicans
Oh,
are like.
that's what they
They like the tax.
Except for their top.
You know, a high percentage of bicyclists are poor, right? Because they can't afford cars. Harry wants, and some of them are yuppies who would just prefer not to drive. But if you really look in the city, a lot of them are immigrants.
A San Francisco feel for your city.
Right, Harry. So I know you have contempt for that, which I don't think is very nice. But Harry, if you really look at it, I always say that by helmets.
San Francisco feel?
I know.
I
like San
It's a cheap
Francisco.
shot against gay people, but anyway. But Harry.
Oh, is that what we're doing that?
What?
That's
But
not
anyway,
what we're
that's
doing,
the whole
are
San
we?
Francisco values. That was the whole in the Georgia runoff this week. The whole San Francisco values and anti-police. Anyway,
so funny.
but Harry, I agree with you. I think
That's a
I always say
fact.
that you look at helmets, and of course there are huge exceptions in both directions. But generally, the people with helmets are making the choice to ride, and they have the money. And the people without helmets are often don't have a lot of money, whether it's kids or whether it's immigrants, and they need it for transportation. But in any case, you really want to start registering and form a government bureaucracy and enforcement of bicycles to tax the owners of bicycles.
Yes, for those who are actually traveling on their bikes and clogging up the lanes and
We won't be clogging up the lanes because we have our own lanes. We will even have our own signal lights. That's the other thing that's happening. We get our own signal
Harry,
lights.
it's the cars that clog up the street, man.
The cars?
Compared to a bicycle?
Let me tell you something. I drive next to bike riders every day.
But that's like 2 or 3.
And they don't know
It's
how to
not
stay in their lane.
That I agree with. I agree with Harry in that.
They don't know how to stay in their lane.
Both sides are terrible. The drivers are absolutely horrible, and the cyclists, for the most part, don't follow the rules.
They don't follow
But you
the
know,
rules.
the drivers are absolutely crazy. Which is the one main reason I don't bike anymore in New Haven is the drivers.
I think people are
deadly.
actually
It's-
trying to kill
It's
you.
I
the
agree with you
drivers
about
who
the
are crazy,
cyclists, too.
not
Both.
you guys who are
No,
swerving into our lane.
Both.
But
The
you're in
drivers-
a whole car that's thousands of pounds, so you have the more ability to be
But
like
also the
accurate.
drivers. I mean, police
Like
just told me this. Couple
Have
of
you?
the
When's the
cities.
last time you've ridden a bike? It's kind of hard on these bumpy roads to stay like completely straight.
Like,
but if I'm gonna have my own lane, you don't have to worry about that.
I'm with Harry that it's both sides, although he's not many drivers. And I've talked to police chiefs who come here from other cities. Said that, one guy came from LA. He said there's no place he's seen in America where the drivers break more rules or are crazier than New Haven. But that doesn't change the fact
That bikes
follow
are-
rules
yeah.
too.
I
But
would argue that
Harry,
bikes don't
I don't know if
break
you've been on a
rules.
bicycle in New Haven, but the drivers
They're
honk-
trying to
they
kill you
honk at you and scream at you for even riding your bike
in the road,
They
even
want
if
you
you're
to
not
be on
swerving or
They want you to
anything.
be on a sidewalk.
And they're creating these bike lanes that are taking up the right lane.
So why can't we share? Why can't cyclists have a lane?
Share.
Yeah, why can't cyclists have
How
a
about
lane?
you guys go on the sidewalk?
Because that
Because the
runs over
sidewalk is for
pedestrians.
walking.
That runs over pedestrians,
It's inherent
Harry.
in its
the
name.
law. It's actual law,
you know,
Harry.
that's what they should do. They should
That's the
actually
law.
impede on the walkers and actually create a bike lane on the sidewalk. This way, you're bothering the walkers.
Okay, Harry's doing a humor routine now. That's what he's doing, like, so.
Because this is what we're doing, right?
So
we're,
this is-
we're,
I mean, Harry, this
choosing,
is ridiculous.
we're choosing a certain group to bother.
It's not the bother, it's just certain groups that have rights as well as everybody else.
Yeah,
I know what
sure.
you think, Babs.
You know what?
We can't get you wrapped up on this, but can we remind people that this
But also, we're spending so much money on these bike lanes.
Is it so much money?
compared to
though?
what we pay on cars? Compared to $1 billion
All
for
the money
darn
that we're
bridge?
trying to get together
without a
for
bike
cars
lane?
to
I'm-
have car
I'm just
infrastructure.
saying,
Are you
I'm-
serious?
We're going
talking
into deep
about-
debt in the state for highways
I'm
over
talking
and
about
over.
you know, us over here that we care so much, and we're taking away services from a lot of people right
This
now.
is state money.
It doesn't matter.
Honey, if we took all the money in the Department of Transportation and did other stuff with it, anybody can make that argument.
I mean, this is a footnote,
We do this
Harry.
with everything,
This is a
right?
footnote of state and city money that goes to roads for cars. This isn't even. This doesn't even
Yeah,
register.
we earmark a lot of money that somehow gets used elsewhere, right? So we should actually grab some of this money.
We just
and
whining and really having to
take care
redesign
of
the whole
people.
thing.
Let's take care of people, Paul. Not, you know, a lot of people don't. Like you said, there's a lot of poor.
compassionate conservative.
There's a lot of poor people who
high
can afford
taxes.
bikes, right?
Tax the poor conservatism.
Paul, there's a lot of people who can afford bikes.
That's why we have a bike share program coming.
There's a lot of poor people who can afford bikes.
Try it again.
How about
So now you
do
want to put
something for
cyclists
poor
on the
people?
sidewalk and run them over with bikes instead of having them on the
Now run them over. Create a lane.
Harry.
Create a lane for you guys.
Then we're gonna take that lane away.
And
That's
then
what
you
we're
have
doing.
to stay in
That's
your
what
lane
we're
and not
doing.
run people
That's
over.
what we're doing. That's what this whole proposal is. We're creating a
Now
lane
you're
for you
creating
guys.
a lane on the street.
Well, you
just
still gonna have to
avoid
build it
drivers.
some. You have to build it somewhere, Harry.
On the sidewalk.
You're gonna have to expand that
Sidewalks
sidewalk.
on the sidewalk.
You're gonna have to expand the sidewalk, and then you got your bike lane again.
No. Let me tell you something. If you expand the sidewalk by 3 feet, right? Not even 2 feet. and you throw you guys.
Who's going to give us eminent domain over people's yards?
Wait, guess what, Harry? You've just described the bike lane. They're extending the sidewalk 2 feet.
If you expand the sidewalk,
they're expanding it 2 feet for the bike
but not
lane.
in the street, where they could actually swerve into the street. You stay.
We're not going to swerve in the street. We're going to have delineators.
That's what they're doing. They're creating a barrier. They're going 2 feet out and creating a barrier.
They're creating a barrier where they're not going to swerve into the driver's lane?
Yeah. There won't be any swerving in the driver's lane.
And that works.
That's the whole point of the cycle track. That's what's different from a bike lane.
Well,
is
that
it's
we'll be completely out of your way, Harry.
All right, so
that works for me.
We've now gotten over the last bastion of opposition.
If I don't have to actually wait. And I see.
So Harry's about to be the biggest advocate. He's going to want protected bike lanes all over this city.
Yeah, we should. Because let me tell you, if I have to, I see the green light. The green light has turned green, and by the time this bike rider moves out of my way, it's turned red.
Harry, this is even better. There's a whole light specifically for bikes. It'll tell the bikes when to go.
Wait, shouldn't it be the same light? Because wouldn't they be going in traffic if they're not?
They might give you in like some so that everybody knows who's supposed to go when.
But
I think that's gonna screw it up. Because you know how lights go.
No, but Harry, you just described what they're doing when you say what you want. You've described exactly how they build it.
If they build it like that, but the lights is going to find something. The lights is going to be a problem.
They're not going to have a lot of separate lights
because they never synchronize. And then if they're going to be a separate light, all of a sudden the bike's going to go and that light it's going to be a mess.
Well, it works on High Street. There's already a bike light there.
And it works.
Bike signal light, and nobody's died yet.
Not yet, but they're still listening to Pundits Friday.
Are they? Do they?
You're home, as long as they're not hit yet. Listen to Pundit Friday, WNHH Radio. You're home for
you converted me. What? You converted me. I'm for bikes. So you still should pay taxes or a registration fee or something like that.
Okay, so I'm glad we have the high tax Trump.
If that's going to be your regular form of transportation. And you're going to be on the roads, and you're.
What if it's kids? We're talking about a lot of kids biking to school and stuff.
It's not going to happen. And then you're going to.
It's not going to happen.
Why is it not going to happen? There's 2 schools along this bike route.
Let's see if it happens. I know you guys are trying to become San Francisco, but you're not.
San Francisco is nice.
No, we're in New Haven. WNHH Radio, your home for community radio in New Haven at 103.5 FM. Live streams at NewHavenEvent.org. And we're here on this Friday. And Babs, you are unusually quiet on this one. This doesn't get you going.
No.
Does the skating rink get you going? Because Marquisha was there too. They finally came up with a cool plan for the skating rink.
Year round.
They're actually going to make it bigger. It's going to be year round. It's going to have stuff like volleyball. It's going to have all new equipment. They're going to redo the ice floor. They're going to expand it from 180 feet by another 85 feet. And they they're going to have bioswale and bike spaces back on Harry's San Francisco theme. I'm sorry to inform you, Harry, that they're going to not pollute, but have some of the water run off into the bioswale. And they were losing $50,000 to $60,000 a year. They come with a plan rather than having less skating, losing money. They're going to try to make it better for the public. So, Marquisha, was everybody happy about this? I was reading the comments to your story. What do you think?
Oh, I haven't seen the comments.
I think everybody was against it. I couldn't figure out
why. Why
they were against it?
Well, they're mad that they're going to be closed another winter. They find alternative places for people to skate while they're fixing it because they have to do this big redo.
Yeah.
So then they're mad that they don't trust that the city came up with the plans and who they're going to pick to build it. And somebody else said bring professional hockey in there, which has failed 3 or 4 times at last count in New Haven at bigger arenas.
But why would they? I mean, you could go to Yale Whale and watch hockey.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true.
I mean,
but in any case,
I've gone to Yale Whale and watched hockey.
I mean, obviously it is really good. We have great commenters who come up with some really interesting points you never think of. We're going to bring one up.
Do they go to public hearings and do that, or do they just save it all for the New Haven Independent?
But I'm glad they do. But I think the big picture is kind of glad we're going to get a better skating rink.
That seems to be the point.
We shouldn't lose taxpayer money on.
Yeah,
that's the one next to the Corsair, right? Because all Corsair people.
That's right. You can have that whole. That's right. You can have this whole new. You have this whole new building with hundreds of people, young people, who can skate there as well. People love skating. So I guess the bottom line is people just really care about the skating. They really care about it.
Which is great, and I hope when it is open again that people will support it.
Yeah, because they use it for basketball in the summer, right? You could go.
Yeah, and so they're going to still be able to do that. So it'll get all around.
Okay, since we're talking transposition, I was at a hearing this week about the usual fights between Yale and the alders who run the board of alders who are affiliated with Yale's unions. They fight about a bunch of stuff, and it's pretty interesting. But one thing they're talking about is the alders have forced Yale, in addition to continue getting approval for how they park and any kind of building plans, to offer their employees who drive to work a 50% discount on Connecticut Transit if they switch. So Yale identified 3,300 workers who have been for at least 3 months parking in their lots. They said, we will now let you ride the Connecticut Transit bus for 50% off.
Why can't they just free up their riders, their employees to ride for free? How much would that cost?
In any case, let me tell you how many people responded. 3,300 were asked.
Five people?
5 people took up the offer to switch.
Well,
So
is it reliable transportation?
Well, they were here, all the theories about why. The author said, how much did you tell them? You know, did you even tell them about it? And they said, we actually emailed a bunch of times, made them through newsletters, blah, blah. Somebody else said, well, you give them tons of email all the time. You got to try other methods too. Somebody else said, well, these people who are choosing to drive, they want to drive. So just give them free parking and solve the problem that way. Somebody else said, if you had, Bab said, they said, well, Connecticut Transit System stinks because Yale has its own private system. There's not enough demand. I always say, why don't you do what Cornell does in Ithaca and pay for everyone to ride free on the public bus so there's enough demand that they can run more routes so you can actually rely on taking the bus to work, which you can't now. Other people say acknowledge reality, people want to drive, and again, pay them to park for free in the lots even though it's going to pollute things. Other people say try harder to reach them. And other people say expand the Yale shuttle, have it go to West Side town. It's so weird it doesn't. So if you live in West Side Yale, there are people I know who want to commute from our neighborhood, Marquesha.
Why can't they just do all those things?
Well, if you both do the shuttle and Connecticut Transit, you're working at cross purposes.
Because they're going to choose the shuttle, right?
Yeah, it's your private valet service. You're still not going to have enough rider in Connecticut Transit. So even if it's free, it's going to be free to shuttle too. Why you can bother Yale Transit?
I think they can expand the Connecticut Transit. I think they can make free parking for their employees, and I think they can,
they do get a lot of discounts on the parking, like 50-60%. And people say at this hearing they were saying, and Raquel did this amazing story. You see the videos we embedded in the story this week, where she went out in the hill with these people who live on streets near the hospital in the Yale Medical Center, who. An old person goes out in the morning, they said shop right, comes back, and all the Yale employees have parked on the streets taking the spots, even though there are company lots right nearby. And what everyone agrees is people just want free. You'll never be able to compete with free. So that's what Babs is saying, just make it free. That's what Jeanette Morrison is saying, the Alder in Dixwell.
Make that part of your employment package, much like health benefits.
I mean, it's asking a lot. It's asking you to spend millions
but
and
I don't think that there's any university that doesn't charge its employees for parking.
Well, they could be the first ones to.
Do something. They could, but I don't think it's a common practice.
Because when I had to take my son over to Yale for some testing, and I just thought, I'll just park in a metered spot or whatever. And do you know, it took me forever to find some place to park because there were so many cars. And these are in front of residential.
Right, so old people come home with groceries or something, they can't even park anywhere near their house.
I would just be pissed off. I really would be incensed by that.
What is Harry Droz, the sometimes tax the poor bike riders, think about this?
I think everything should be free.
Wait a second, you said we got tax bicycles.
Except for bicycles.
Okay,
that was very Joe Ugly of you. He would be proud.
No, but I think everything should be free. Actually, this morning, my wife and I had the same discussion in the car about, Connecticut Transit and the bus. I was waiting for a bus to actually get out the way, right? And I see the guy who wants to get on the bus, but he's negotiating with the bus driver. And I know a lot of people don't have the money, right? So, or they don't have change. They go in and they have a $5 bill, and they can't get on the bus, but they got to get to work, right? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if this guy really needs to get on the bus, shouldn't he be allowed on the bus even if he doesn't have the money? Shouldn't it all be free?
You're going to pay taxes.
Well, aren't we paying taxes to run this system in the first place? And then we get double tax by having to pay the fare on
Saturday night. So one thing I try to do just to see if it can be done is go out at night and you hate to take a bus home. Nobody does because it's so rare at that time of night. So the route that goes near my house stops at 6 or 7, of course. I think maybe stops at 6 or 7. But I got the B bus at right before midnight on Saturday night, right before midnight, and we're going down Whaley Avenue to past the boulevard, and people smelling something. Say, what's that smell? What's that smell? So the driver stops and it's leaking hydraulic fluid.
Oh my God!
So everybody's off the bus at midnight or 12:10, and there's not another bus for an hour. So and
at
that's
12:10.
Yeah, that's like the last. Well, hour from when the last time we left, so it's under an hour, but you have to wait quite a while. So we all, like, I just walked last. I didn't mind because I actually wanted to walk the 2.5 miles home, and I thought it's a little much time of night, so maybe so I actually got to walk my mile and a quarter home, so it's fine for me. But I was just thinking, and they wrote back and they had, they said we got someone in 36 minutes, and that bus was too late that time of night. They just don't have the volume of buses on the road, and I think it's because Connecticut Transit is a system of last resort for riders rather than of choice. Like, a lot of people love taking the bus in cities and not have to have a car. But it is so inconvenient here. The routes are so crazy. The city is working on a study to change the routes for the state. I mean, it's based on a system where jobs used to be in different places, and they didn't have things to do at night, and jobs didn't take place at night, and they weren't in the suburbs. They were the one that spoke to the city. And now you only take mass bus if you have no other choice, as opposed to wanting to take it because you can't rely on it.
See, I wish buses would run. I think there has to be a route change, because where I live in Beaver Hill, right? I live like right in the middle. So there's the closest bus to me I'd have to get on Whaley, or Gulf Terrace. That's the closest to me. So that's like maybe 5, 6, 10 blocks away or something. And then there's no bus on Crescent, like by Southern. So if I wanted to catch the bus over there, I either have to go down by Southern or Dixwell. That's the closest.
Yeah, I was talking to someone from Southern who's a professor, lives in Ansonia. She tried to take the bus. It's like 3 hours if you're lucky. Go 7 miles.
Well, that's the thing.
And a lot of people commute from the valley. Yeah. Or if they're late.
Yeah.
If they're late, which they often are.
Yeah.
And they're not perfect.
That's the thing.
Or they're early sometimes. And you're like, really? You're never early.
With the service that they give now, it should be free.
She said it's not good enough to be paid for.
I asked the DOT Department of Transportation, is there a refund for people
it's
if your bus
like
breaks
in New
down
York,
in the middle
you
of the
have
night?
24-hour service in New York. You know you're going to catch a bus. You know you could get a job in Queens Plaza and make it home at 4 in the morning if you shift.
Right, and we talked to people who live in West Haven, and a lot of people have like service jobs at the stores. She goes to a job at off 91 at the Circuit City is Universal Drive. She just can't take a bus on the weekend. It's like 3 hours often when it's not the weekend, and she just can't do it on West Haven to get to her job in North Haven. And it isn't that big an area, folks. So I asked the DOT. So people are stranded at midnight. You get it's $1.75 for a ride. And now DOT subsidizes the ride. It's a vicious circle. I think 40% or more for the bus riders, but they give them such lousy service. So then to take it, so you have to subsidize it more because you don't get the ridership. He said they don't give you a refund when the bus breaks and you're stranded. They'll give you a transfer if, like, an hour later they get you another bus and you have to connect somewhere else, which, of course, at that time of night, the buses don't run anymore. I mean, fundamentally, they don't feel they have to lure the customers or treat them right.
Because they're not interested.
They're holding the few people hostage who have no other choice.
They're not interested in creating a transit system that gets cars off the road.
Except for trains for rich people in Fairfield County.
Well, yeah.
I've lost count. It's at least a dozen press conferences here in New Haven with the governor's DOT person about improving train service for millions and millions and millions of dollars, and never one about the buses. We had fighting like hell to get, like, for years just to get GPS to let you know when the buses are running late, which they didn't even publicize when it came out. And so I think they just fundamentally don't care who they think rides the bus, and who rides the bus is because the service is so big.
Because a lot of people would ride the bus if it was consistent, if it was just consistent and more. I know when I go to other cities, I look forward to riding mass
transit to other cities. It's fun.
When I'm in New York City, I never think to drive. Like, it's just not even in my head.
I take the bus in
Let's
Philly,
get on the bus, or subway, or I hail a cab.
When I moved to Connecticut, I didn't have a car or anything. We used to walk all over the place, but and take the bus. And I was trying to find a job, and your options are limited because certain buses don't go to certain places, or they stop running at a certain time, and you can't make it back home.
I wonder if there's all going to be moved in a few years of self-driving cars where you don't buy a car, and if Google can get the price down so it's like an Uber, so that it's not $10 to go a few miles, but they get it comparable to what you pay for the bus. I wonder if there's all going to be moved at some point.
I know people are definitely talking about that, and I believe the legislature passed some legislation to allow some testing here in the state for self-driving cars.
it's the poor people who are always affected.
Well, the question is, can you get it to the rate where it's the same as what a bus costs now? Can you get it to $1.75?
If you do multiple
or
riders,
like if you do multiple
it's like a
shared ride sharing program or something like that.
Or if you maybe give a contract to a private company that's going to run the service and then have a subsidy for the lower income commuters.
Yeah, it's just like the healthcare, right? A subsidy doesn't help you if you can't afford it and you're waiting for the subsidy to kick in.
What if you say a pass to go free all the time on a self-driving car?
If you can do that, right?
Would that be like a single payer?
Everything should be free.
Well, wouldn't it be like single payer? I prefer single payer, but if you're going to let a company go on more, this is more of the Republican idea. You know, if you make a private company run it because government doesn't have the money, you believe they can do better, which is very doubtful. But if you believe that, if they're going to make so much money, you can require for the right to make that money that you allow poor people to ride free. But then you have to regulate to make sure that.
See, the problem with it is that, and it's a fact, you know, government is inefficient, right?
Wait a second, private health insurance companies, are they efficient?
I got a $439 bill from two years ago that says the net.
Vicious, inefficient, incompetent, cruel, customer screwing companies.
You're talking about the healthcare companies? Yeah, but the healthcare companies have been allowed to do this by our government regulations, right?
We're the Republicans that don't let them be regulated, yes. Cut the budget for regulation.
Well, it was Obama who made these companies.
Because the only way, because we would have done single payer if not for the Republicans who said the only way you'll ever pass something is have this idea.
Oh, you know you could have passed single payer? You passed Obamacare.
No, but it wasn't single payer because Joe Lieberman and his Republican buddies stopped it.
That's a lie.
Medicare for all. He said, I like the idea. They said, wait, those people like it who I don't like, so we're going to
Our Republican buddies didn't like Obamacare and it still went through.
There was a Republican plan on Obamacare. Mitt Romney, as governor of Massachusetts, started Obamacare.
You can keep moving the goalposts, but the fact is, the Democrats were the ones, there was not one Republican vote. Obamacare was passed just by the Democrats. So the Democrats who passed Obamacare could have just as easily passed single payer. But you know what? Democrats were against single payer.
Right. So insurance company has too many clauses in both parties. We need single payer.
Absolutely, on both sides, the insurance companies.
So are you for single payer?
I'm not for single payer. Well, if you can make it work financially, but you can't. Look at Obamacare.
You take out the cost of profit. You take out the cost, the incentive,
and you make the doctors work for the government. So the doctors will become a government position.
There are two models.
Right? So the doctors
there are two models.
will never be able to afford their education.
Medicare, they don't work for the government. Medicare is single payer.
Medicare is dying.
I'm saying, Harry, there are two models of single payer. Now,
but everybody goes, well, look at the veterans. The way we work with the veterans, that works. No, it doesn't work.
It
then
you
go, look at Medicare.
Wait, some does work.
It works for my mother.
It works, and it works in West Haven. Parts of it don't work because it's not regulated.
I'm not saying it doesn't work that people don't work. I'm talking about financially.
Yeah.
It never works because government is inefficient. So everything that would cost in a private setting,
that are in healthcare,
something that would cost in a private setting a certain amount, for the government costs triple that amount.
Except in healthcare, where it costs even more.
I don't think government is inefficient.
And plus, in the healthcare industry, the private companies for medicine, when they're unregulated, and what they charge for healthcare goes through the roof. It's actually cheaper through government.
No, it's not. You're saying it's cheaper for the people, while the government keeps going into debt, into greater debt.
The question is, you have a good point about doctors. You have to pay to train the doctors. You have to do what England does. You have to do what Canada does, where they make a lot of money, but they're not so much richer than everybody else.
A socialist.
Yeah, for healthcare
point of view. Like, so you're saying the doctors shouldn't have any aspirations of actually being specialists and actually being rich in their field.
They can be rich, but they don't have to be making $3 million a year.
You get to decide what a doctor gets to make.
That's true, reimbursement. Right now, insurance companies decide what doctors can make. Insurance companies decide now.
We should.
Yeah, but
we can agree with that.
Here's the thing for me. We never use that argument for school teachers.
Right.
We never use this argument for the doorman. We never use this argument for the garbage pickers. Yeah. We want to keep them at some rate that is, not above what we think their stature is. So we don't have that conversation with poor people. That conversation only applies to rich people. Right. And I sit with dual degrees, so I know what I'm talking about.
But we do have that conversation on Pundit Friday at WNHH Radio, your home for community radio, 103.5 FM, live stream through NewHavenFin.org. We're talking about the stories of the week.
Being a doctor is a specialized.
I'm not saying they don't make more money.
So it's collecting garbage. I can't do it.
No, but wait a second. You could pay more.
A doctor and a garbage collector are not the same.
Why?
They'll never
Why?
be the same.
I bet
it is what we said. I tell you what, if your garbage ain't picked up, you're not gonna call your doctor.
And also, Babs, it's a middle ground. You can have someone get paid more for jobs that require extra expertise and extra experience or education, but it doesn't have to be at the variables it is now.
So then the government has to.
That's not even my argument, because people can make whatever we. Because listen, all of this is about what we say we want to see happen. What happens for me, what I believe is, we only have these kinds of we only have these arguments at that level for rich people, for doctors and lawyers, because we say they're specialized, whatever. But when we want to talk about minimum wage and raising minimum wage, somehow or other, the conversation becomes quite distasteful for people. That somehow or other, $16, $20, $30 an hour is some outrageous amount. But we have no problem saying if you run a sports team or run run UConn sports team.
Or a hedge fund that gives nothing productive to the economy and puts people out of work.
You could, whatever, the sky is the limit, because that's specialized. The coach of the UConn boys basketball team makes more money than the governor. And everybody's cool with that, because why? Because the team is winning.
I'm not cool with it.
I'm not cool with it either.
But I was cool with all the love I was cool with all that was showered, the love that was showered on some people leaving town after making a great impact on it this week.
It was a farewell tour.
18 years. Boy, she was a hero. Yes. In Haven. She took Gateway, a struggling campus, into what everyone acknowledges the jewel of the community college system. Besides the big downtown campus, she started for people who were working in factories mid-career. She realized they can get trained if they have night courses. She did night courses. There was a nursing shortage. She barreled through bureaucracy to create a nursing training program that's very successful. She just has cared about community college education, and hundreds showed up at Anthony's this week on Morris Cove to wish her goodbye, and we all wish her the best and thank her. I'm not always sad when these people go. I feel like I'm so glad we got so many great years out of them, and I'm happy they're going to do something else. In 18 years, it's a good run. Mary Lou Oleski ran the International Festival of Arts Ideas for 11 years, and we had her and her husband, Peter Webster, many people know as her husband, who's very quietly behind the scenes, follows his wife to every city she goes to, and he's actually a pretty hotshot opera trainer himself. He trains opera singers and stuff like that, but he just fell in love with New Haven as she did, and got so involved with Wooster Square and city stuff. He got to know the cops, he got to know people trying to fix problems in the neighborhood. He would just take on his role to promote people he thought doing great work, like Crico, the pencil artist in the Hills Museum, and make sure everyone found out about him and get him money to do programs with kids to bring them to the museum and draw about their neighborhoods. And I just love what they brought. But we also welcome new people this week. First, we have a new police chief. Marquisha, you were there, where they jammed City Hall to the swearing in, well, the official swearing in, even though we want to go through still project, of our 17th police
What are you doing here, Paul?
Anthony Campbell. And, he's our first chief out of the last 4 to actually come up through the ranks in New Haven. I was talking to one officer about this the other day. He said that in some ways, having an outsider come in frees you from politics, like James Lewis, to make changes that are hard to make. But sometimes with the other two, they don't really know the people in town to support them to do good work, and they end up playing politics too much, rather than being respected from the rank and file. What was your feel, Marquisha, at this event about having it be someone who has spent almost 20 years as a New Haven cop, settles here, lives here with his family, and worked his way up through the ranks?
I got a sense that there was a real sense of pride on behalf of community members, public officials, but also the rank and file. Like that means something to them. And somebody said to me the other day that his appointment felt like appointing somebody who is committed to this community, so they feel like a person you can touch. They're not somebody who is from the outside, and so doesn't have that sense of connection with people. And so, people feel very connected to Anthony Campbell. They feel like he's one of them, because I think when you're not born in New Haven, sometimes you can feel like an outsider. Like people are like, you ain't been here long enough to claim that kind of status. But he's been here long enough that people feel like he's somebody that they're connected to, that he can be touched. He's not this insular individual who's not of the culture.
And he is, as interim chief, he's lived months. He spends a lot of time out of the department. Some people feel like you need to be in your office a lot. People need to see you need to manage from within. Other people feel it's important to be out in the community. I know it's not one or the other. He definitely spends a lot of time running around the city and getting together with people. I was wondering if it's significant at all. He's the second African American chief. Is it maybe, it's not a big deal anymore because Anthony Campbell, this is supporting the department cut across the racial lines. So this wasn't an issue. I mean, I know Boise Kimber had an event that made it worse for him, trying to say we care the black community when he gets named, but in fact, that wasn't a big black community thing. That within the department, he actually was seen as a healer. Did very well with the White Lake Union. People see him as a cop's cop. Not everybody was for him. They never fought for anyone. But it had nothing to do with racial lines. On the other hand, there is racial pride, right? You had wonderful photos from that event. You really captured the event and all the aspects of it. And it wasn't that most people there were black. But is there some special black pride? You had one photo I noticed with the police chiefs with Danbury, Waterbury, and Yale, who were all African American. And again, other law enforcement people come to who are white to work with them. The U.S. Attorney's Office loves working with them. They were there, and then mostly people of color, except for Bell. What was your sense of significance of taking that picture?
I think it was that kind of we made it to this special club that maybe it's very difficult for people who look like us to make it to. And I actually had taken a picture that I didn't get a chance to run, which was a picture of Chief Higgins, who's over Yale University's police department.
Exactly.
Our fire chief, our new fire chief, as well as Anthony Campbell. So like 3 of the top public safety officials in this city are African American, and that's a huge milestone.
And they're male. And one rap that Tony Hart, the mayor, gets from African American males in town is that she hasn't promoted enough African American males. Chief Administrative Officer, Police Chief, Fire Chief. I think that's kind of a bum rap. I don't know, what do you think?
I feel like I have to represent for Norma.
I was just about to jump in there. I was going to jump in there because
represented like
we do have 2 assistant chiefs who are Hispanic.
The chief of staff is Hispanic of the mayoral office.
Oh, so we have to be assistants?
No, because if they decide to stay on, when Anthony Campbell decides to leave, I fully expect that Tony Reyes could be chief one day.
That's what I was just saying. Shout out to Norma.
Okay, Harry Jaros. We always love the way Harry Jaros speaks up for the point of view you're not going to otherwise hear. Tax bicycles, love Donald Trump. So quick, name me the 8 sister cities New Haven has. Because 8, as of yesterday, we have 8. It used to be 7.
Sister Leon.
Boom, way to go.
That's that one, and the new one that I can't pronounce.
Is it Nicaragua?
Yeah, Leon is
There's
Nicaragua.
a new one from China.
New one as of yesterday in China.
I don't know them all.
We have a sister city of Changsha.
Okay.
Welcome, China. We love to be friends.
Call me when there's a trip.
Amalfi, Italy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Really?
Freetown, Sierra Leone. Well, Amalfi's obvious because so many people. There are more Amalfitanos in this area than living in Amalfi.
Really? I didn't know that.
They were recruited here by Yale as expert stone cutters in the Depression to build most of the residential colleges. And they were around Worcester Square and then the suburbs. And we had, I think, the biggest population in the country. And I think at one point there were 3 times as many Amalfitanos. I've been to Amalfi, which is heaven.
Yeah, I heard it's beautiful.
Seaside.
Oh, let's go there.
And all the last names on the doors of this, I thought I was still working because all the people I didn't know,
the last name?
they were the actual families. I go by the doors, Toledo,